Burns,
Here.
Chartres,
Here.
King,
Here.
Balzer,
Here.
LaChance,
Here.
Lehman,
Here.
Mowerhand,
Here.
Mosier,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Dahl.
Here. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge of the flag. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills of judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. Please turn to the flag for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, I'll declare the minutes for the April 3rd, 2018 minutes are approved. Reports of the Rules and Legislation Committee per Rule 6, Terry.
The Rules and Legislation Committee has met, and they recommend to waive the rules to act upon like resolutions this evening. Need a motion.
Motion for that. Tom, second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. At this point, I'd like to open the public hearing for comments on local law introductory number 1, 2018, local law amending local law number 4, 1956, County of Lewis, and subsequently amended, being a local law enumerating rules and regulations of the administration of the Lewis County Self-Insurance Fund. Next, we have privilege of the floor. Let's start with this local law. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that local law? Mr. Beagle?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here tonight representing at least two towns here in Lewis County, Harrisburg and Denmark. But I believe it's an issue that's going to be common to many towns and perhaps also villages within the county. This local law purports to pass the obligation for workers' compensation benefits to the towns in which the fire department is located. And in a town where there are no villages, I think this does not present an issue. However, in a town where there is a village, I think it presents a great issue. I realize that in doing this, there is some reliance on an audit that was done in another county and a 1963 state comptroller's opinion which suggested that your law is the proper result. However, that opinion failed to recite in any way the volunteer firefighters benefit law, and more particularly Section 30 of the Volunteer Firefighters Benefit Law, which specifically allocates the responsibility for workers' compensation benefits for volunteer firemen. That law, my read of the law at least, is that the responsibility goes back to the jurisdiction in which the fire department is located. So if a fire department is located in a village, it would be the village that would get that bill, not the township. To me, this makes some sense. It makes some sense to me because the village fire department is in fact a department of the village. It is under the control of the village. If it provides services outside the village, it must be under contract made by the village. By shifting the allocation of the village firefighters' workers' comp to the town, it now puts the town in the position of determining how they are going to recoup that cost for workers' compensation benefits from the parties that are served. If we took Denmark as an example, the Copenhagen Volunteer Fire Department services several towns. In Harrisburg, Denmark, Champion. The contracts with those towns for services with the village. It's not with the town of Denmark. How will the town of Denmark recoup that cost from those townships? even if the village were cooperative in some way in doing that, at this time, there's no way to guarantee that that would be able to be done in the future. And consequently, it puts a burden on the taxpayers in the town of Denmark for fire protection services that are being provided, for example, in the town of Harrisburg or the town of Champion, without a way to recoup a portion of that. If, however, that obligation stayed with the village would be able to do that through its contracts with those townships, and would have a way of recouping a pro rata share of that cost from the people who are provided the service and benefit from it. At a minimum, I would ask that before adopting this law, that you investigate Section 30 of the Volunteer Firefighters Benefit Law, as I think it is quite clear, and I'm quite certain the state legislature didn't make a law just to have it ignored. The result you suggest here, I suggest to you, is in direct opposition to what Section 30 of the Volunteer Firefighters Benefit Law says. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Debo. Is there anyone else here that would like to? Randy, Mr. Bell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Legislators. I did alert Ryan. We had a sampling of our town and town supervisors and village mayors meeting last Thursday, and at that meeting I told Ryan that we had some real issues with this as a group of municipalities, mimicking or repeating a lot of the stuff that Mark said. It's further complicated by Denmark that has 2 villages and 2 fire departments within the township, and how they reallocate those expenses amongst the people in 2 fire districts that encompass maybe 6 or 7 towns altogether. This to me was a solution looking for a problem. I think 2 years ago everybody was fine with the way that this was, and it's done in a disparate fashion all over the state of New York, county by county. This differs greatly from what we're doing now and even what we did in the past. So, like I say, I think that the system worked great before the change last year, and this law is just trying to ratify that change. And again, it's probably a solution that's looking for a problem to solve.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak to?
My name is Peter Jones. I'm a councilman, town of Denmark. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the biggest problems we've seen, and we've had very good dialogue with Mrs. Clark over here regarding this, is the fact that we're financially responsible for, for this bill, but we have no call as far as policy with the department. I run a dairy farm and I pay workman's comp. But if I was responsible for like Mark's Farms or Mercrest Farms for what went on their farm, if I was financially responsible for the workman's comp portion of it, but I couldn't dictate policy on the farm, it puts me at a very big disadvantage. Unless we have the ability to dictate policy and control what goes on with the department, we're just at risk of wherever the wind takes us. The village is the one that oversees the policy of the department. Unfortunately, the way things played out this past year, we got the bill later on in the budget season, and we decided we were going to put it out there and let the taxpayers eat it. What we didn't realize is because it was a town tax when it went out there, the village of Copenhagen residents and the village of Cashland residents didn't have to pay for any of the workman's comp portion of that. They only paid for the fire protection. I have land both inside the village and outside, so I could verify that with my bill, my tax bills, and Cashler land, we verified that over there. So unfortunately, outside users in the town of Denmark ended up eating the major workman's comp bill in our township because of that. What we would now have to do is go back and work with both municipalities, both the Cashlerland people and Copenhagen villages, and try to recoup some of that workman's comp back to make it fair for the town people. So it feels like on our end it's just created another layer of confusion when it comes to taxes. I don't know what the true answer is, but it just feels like it may be a step in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the local law? If not, we'll open it up to a general privilege of floor. Is there anyone that would like privilege of the floor at this time or say something? If not, we'll move on to presentations on presentations of communications and notices today.
Thomas Spalding has submitted a letter of resignation from the Lewis County Planning Board effective April 23rd, 2018. Lewis County Habitat Committee Chair Edward Knapp of the Thousand Islands Area Habitat for Humanity corresponded his appreciation to the board for their willingness to identify a county property for a habitat project. They are grateful, however, to report that a house in the Beaver Falls area has been donated for their project. The board acknowledges receipt of a resolution from the Essex County Legislature calling upon the Governor and the Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services to provide funding to support treatment and transition services to individuals with substance use disorders who are incarcerated in county jails. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jerry. Reports of county officers and departments.
Each legislator has received a copy of the Treasurer's April report, as well as the April 20 and April 30 highway audit reports and the April 20 solid waste audit report, and the minutes of the March 13 Community Services Board and April 18 Youth Bureau Advisory Board meetings.
Thank you, Terry. Reports of standing committees. John, would you like to start with social services?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with Jennifer Jones from DSS. The heat fuel assistance program has closed as of 4/27/18, and now the heat, clean, and tune and heat cooling are now available. For more information on that, you can call Mary Burrows or Amanda Zaire. You must own your home for at least a year to be eligible for this. From the Youth Bureau, they awarded $6,515, and they divided up amongst 5 municipalities: the Village of Harrisville, Town of Croghan, Beaver Falls Recreation, Town of Gregg, Village of Croghan, and Village of Port Leyden. And they divided up evenly. It comes to $1,303 apiece. From Director of Community Services, Pat says that Credo is still have ongoing financial concerns, even though the revenue is up 29%. And I think personally they have more problems up there than financial, but that's a personal thing. And from Kelly, we opening up the bidding hopefully soon on our Meals on Wheels, and we're paying $8.35 a meal right now, and the average price is in Jefferson County $5 a meal. So hopefully we can find some big savings and serve more people. And Kelly relayed the primary change will require home delivery meals Monday through Friday, with frozen meals delivered Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it'll be a 7-day program now. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman. Oh, I got some motions here too, sir.
Okay.
Motion to authorize the commissioner to refill a permanent full-time caseworker effective immediately due to resignation.
Motion on the floor, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Motion to authorize Office for the Aging Director, Kelly Hecker, to fill the vacant full-time administrative assistant position effective immediately.
Motion by John, second by Ron. Discussion? Jerry?
Is that one that's left, or is that one position we just had set? You know?
Or a transfer. A resignation and a transfer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the final one is a motion to authorize Director Kelly Hecker to advise the request for proposals to congregate and home delivered meals effective 1/1/2019.
Motion by John, second by Jerry. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's all, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, John. Randy, taxation, elections, information technology.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Randy. Brian, county officers, veterans, junkyards, HR.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we'll start with veterans. Steve gave his quarterly report. I have some figures here that might be quite interesting to all of us in the public here. The first quarter of 2018, there had been 71 claims filed. Disability compensation benefits equal $554,000. Pension payments of $69,000. Education payments of $88,000. He had 28 healthcare enrollments. So the total funds into our local economy here in the county were $712,329. Now these numbers are quite high this quarter because there was an exceptional claim made in this first quarter, so that's what boosted the numbers a little bit. But I think that's pretty amazing that that kind of money is coming, being awarded to our veterans and stuff. He had brought up a couple things that have been in court. So there's the court ruled in favor of some of the veterans now that suffer from chronic pain related to any injuries they had while they were in the conditions they received while in the service. Now they qualify for treatment and benefits, whereas they didn't before. He brought us up to speed with the new director of the VA, but obviously that has changed already. So, you know, along with the drama with the rest of our federal government. He introduced us about a RAMP program and I can't explain to completely what it is, but what it's called is a Rapid Appeals Modernization Program, and it's offered to veterans in select areas to opt into processes. So, and there's a bill that's possibly to go through Congress to give our veterans options for as far as medical care and stuff instead of having to wait to go to VA clinics and stuff. On the junkyard side, you know, the typical stuff. We got more complaints. The guys are doing their patrolling like we asked them to do, and we're getting complaints and write-ups every single month, 2 to 6 every month. So we discussed it in committee. I think we need to take a look at this law again. I really think we're being a little bit too nitpicky with that. I really do. But that's for the 10 of us to decide at a later date. But it's just, you know, it just is. If you have 2 unregistered vehicles, you're going to be considered a junkyard, and you got to put a fence around it. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that have antique cars. I'm not saying let them put as much stuff, but I think we're being a little nitpicky. But that's my opinion. So that's something the 10 of us will have to discuss with that. So that would be my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brian. Can everyone in the back hear okay? Do we need to use the mics? We're okay. Jerry, Ways, Means, Buildings and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We finally got the final building condition study back. I think everybody's got a copy. If not, check with Brian, he's got a copy for you. Haven't had a chance to talk to Dick, but what we're going to try to do is meet in the evenings, or like 3 o'clock on, and I'll get with everybody after the meeting and see what's convenient time. So as we go through this stuff, we can talk back and forth and hear everybody's concerns as we progress along with this information. We've also got some other information on options and different stuff like that we'll discuss. Interoperable for the radio. We are making progress. It's slowed down a little bit with our overlay. So probably in the next week or 2, we should have information for there so we can start moving forward again. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Tom, Public Health, Community Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the public health side, I've got just a little bit. Penny had reported the weekly decline in numbers of the influenza cases. The numbers are below the same period of last year, which is a big change from what it had been running. They held their emergency preparedness drill on 4/26. I don't know how many people might have had a chance to attend that. I went to it. It was quite interesting what they went through, just to get everybody through in the inoculation situation, the report, the nurses, the whole process was quite interesting. I don't have any final numbers on what or how many people they did handle. The first quarter Board of Health reports will be prepared and reviewed for next month. On the community services side, some statistics. 1 in 5 Americans is affected by mental health conditions. Serious mental health costs in America is $193.2 billion in lost earnings per year. Over 1/3, 37% of students with a mental health condition ages 14 to 21 and older who are served by special education drop out. It's the highest dropout rate of any group. Each day, an estimated 18 to 22 veterans die of suicide. Farming overall is a stressful operation. Farmers have a higher suicide rates than almost any other occupation. Those working on farm, fishing, and forestry were 3.4 times more likely than other American workers to commit suicide on the job, according to a 2016 study by the Federal Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Some local statistics. In March, there were 1,131 clients being seen by the Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, outpatient mental health center. Between 2012 and 2016, there were 29 deaths by suicide in Lewis County. Help is available. I know there were some brochures available earlier. There's the New York Farm Net for consultations, behavior, health, and wellness, the Northern Regional Center for Independent Living. In June, the Suicide Prevention Coalition will launch the Community Crisis Response Team. These volunteers will provide supportive services to agencies, businesses, and/or individuals in the Lewis County community who have experienced a recent suicide, sudden traumatic loss, or other impact incident. An event coming up in next month is the annual mental health walk on Thursday, May 17th at 4:15. They'll start by the Loudville Fire Department and walk to Tops. When they get back, there'll be back to the fire department. It'll be celebrate with a dinner, a guest speaker, and door prizes. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom? Moving on to Ron with Economic Development, Planning, Forestry, and Parks.
Yeah, I'd just like to give one shout out to Jackie Mahoney in the Department of Recreation and Parks. They had a used 2014 truck that they sold, and originally she was offered $15,000, and through her efforts and her people, they dug around and they found another place that gave them an extra $10,000 for the truck, which just goes right to the bottom of the line. I thought I'd want to mention that. That's it.
Thank you, Ron. Questions? Greg, Courts and Law, Enforcement, Emergency Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as everybody knows, the DA has found an assistant, the previous DA in Jefferson County, Cindy Insert. We're still working on it. I'm not sure, we'll probably know next month whether we got approval for her residency waiver. Pretty sure that'll come through.
and went into probation, and we keep hearing much about the raise the age. We're going to need to have a contract in place by October 1st of this year for secure detention, which will be for 17-year-olds, not the 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, I believe, at first. Right now, there's nowhere in the North Country region for secure detention. The Children's Home of Jefferson County is doing non-secured, but might get into the secure detention option. They're looking into it. We'll get an update next month on that. Mackenzie gave his report. They got awarded a $2,500 grant from the Grant Garrett Loomis Foundation again for this year for the county fire training, and they're going to put it into the tower in Martinsburg. They're going to add thermal probes to first, second, and third floors, and also do rooftop training prop and install railings around the rooftop for safety. They've been doing quite a bit of training of different personnel. He was down the highway. They did some training on drug paraphernalia awareness, because they don't really, the highway department doesn't want to get near any of that paraphernalia. It can be dangerous. We'll go on to the sheriff. Under Sheriff McIntosh was at the committee meeting, requested permission to get the 3 new vehicles. One was from a totaled vehicle with insurance recovery, and then 2 new ones for the year, and that went through, and Patty was going to authorize the resolution. And then Sheriff was purchasing the 2018 Skidoo from Smith Marine in Old Forge. It was the one they loaned us, got a 30% discount on it, and then turned around and it's 50% state parks and recs reimbursable. So that makes it a really good deal. Plus, he's going to give us another loaner next year, so that'll keep us with a new sled each year, and purchasing a new sled each year too. The Snert Run, of course, everybody knows that, I believe, fairly well. I didn't hear anybody getting complaints. I received none. There was quite a 4,500 participants, probably more than that. So hopefully our patrols helped. I do know they were out there in force, so that might have helped. Other than that, that's my report.
Okay, Craig, you do have.
Oh, I got a motion. That's right. Oh, thanks, Terry. A motion to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to retain the retired cook manager at the jail part-time for a period of up to 4 weeks to train his replacement.
Motion by Greg, second by John. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Greg. Dick, hospital, please. Lost track of it.
Yeah, no problem. I wasn't there, but they gave me the minutes, so I'll do the best I can with the minutes I've got. And Jerry Carrier is here. If I say something wrong, he'll correct me. First up, we want to congratulate Mrs. Tracy Gothright. She's an RN, and she was Employee of the Month for March. And then additionally, if you see Melissa Clark, HR Assistant, she was the Employee of the Year for 2017. They had a nice presentation for they take the Employee of the Month, and the 12 of them go into competition, and then their peers rate them on that for Employee of the Year. And it was a very well attended and a very nice function that they had for them. We wrote and submitted our $16 million New York State Department of Health Transformation Grant, and that's for that building that we briefed you on earlier. And now we just see where that goes from here. In September, the 22nd, at the Lowell Elks Club is the annual gala for the hospital. That's a major fundraiser for Lewis County General Hospital here in Lewis County. And I must say that the legislators have been a little bit sparse at that. So I would encourage, with this much advance notice, if you could make it, it's a great night. You meet a lot of people from the hospital. You find out what's going on up there. There's a great meal with it. So I would just encourage you to at least consider it.
What's the date on that?
September 22nd, and I'm going to assume that's a Saturday.
Thank you.
For March, we had a gain of $275,473 compared with the budgeted gain of $215,727. Our year-to-date surplus is $290,824 versus our budgeted surplus of $224. Our overall gross patient revenue was higher than anticipated in inpatient, outpatient, and SNF areas. The total for the month was an all-time high of $12.94 million. There's a mandatory staffing for nursing being considered. It's in the state, as I understand it right now, and we are trying to staff our nursing home to the best of our ability. We've had 3 CNA classes this year. We get 7 or 8 students out of each one, and we still aren't able to get to what this minimum staffing would be. So it's going to be a problem. We've got hospitals as far away as Auburn up here trying to hire people away from us, advertising in the paper and on the television and what have you. So we will be as progressive as we can be with our marketing strategy, and we'll just keep working on our vacancies. Barring any questions, that's my report.
Thank you, Dick. Any questions for Dick?
What is our minimum? What do they want for minimum?
I'm not sure. Jerry, could you?
Yeah. So I would just make one modest correction, in that it's a max. It would be a mandatory staffing, and we haven't seen the full numbers yet. But right now we have in the nursing home, I believe, around 25 open positions. And so if they create a mandatory level of staffing, then what will end up happening is we'll have to reduce beds to meet the staffing levels with the staff that we have. We currently have 4 units of beds in the nursing home. So it's one of those we're watching closely.
Thank you, Jerry.
Can I ask if Jerry's got anything for the board? Jerry, do you have anything that you want to present for the board?
Yeah, I would share one thing. We completed our audit. It was reported to the Board of Managers. We had a clean audit. But another exercise we ran in parallel in December, we present what we call the pre-audit statement of operations. So it sort of marks the end of the fiscal year. Then the audit occurs and reports its findings. So then we present the post-audit statement. And then we compare the two. And we want to see, is there a wide gap or is it a narrow gap? I'm happy to report it was a narrow gap. Keep in mind we're almost an $80 million operation. And the variance between the pre and post was $157,000. And those were really reclassifications, so expenses and revenue based on recommendations by the auditor being placed in other places. So what that really tells us is the monthly financials are accurately reflecting the activities of the month. So I thought it was a meaningful exercise, and the audit bore that out for us. That would be it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Andrea, transportation, solid waste.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to thank a few people for helping me out during, I guess you could say, my emergency. Marcy Teal, who's an RN at the hospital, came to my home before the ambulance got there. Tracy in the ER and the doctor in the ER were fabulous. And it gives me the goosebumps. But the 4 people in the ambulance, 2 who drove me to Lowville and 2 who drove me to Utica, they were fabulous. And my outcome is great. So I just want to publicly thank those people. And I did get right in. There was no waiting. The nurse told me I only had 2 options, and I told her usually I get 3. But I couldn't get 3. I only had 2. Okay, on to my report. For the highway, There's 2 resolutions in our packet tonight. They are for the low bids for the Blue Street and Jordan Falls bridges. And also the fuel system work is completed, and now they can get the information they need to do the billing correctly. Where's my paper? Here it is. For solid waste is pretty much the same. We have a 4-H group that's interested in doing recycling at the Lewis County Fair. So we're going to donate 15 yellow containers to the fairgrounds, and we're going to try to get people to recycle. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Andrea. Questions? Now we'll move on to the county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to make the board aware of some events that we have going on in the county throughout the month. The Business Leaders Breakfast will be Thursday the 10th at Krogan Fire Hall in the morning. Lewis County is hosting the inter-county meeting on Thursday the 24th. It'll start at 9:30, and we are giving our neighbors and friends from other counties a tour of our solar project and how we were able to do that, and see if they can replicate it in their communities. We will be hosting the first, what we hope to be an annual event, which is Lewis County Community Cup, which is May 28th through June 2nd. This was an idea that generated from our wellness committee, and Chris Folio and a couple other folks have really taken the bull by the horns and put this event together, and it's really exciting. We hope to have teams from our manufacturing partners, our schools, the hospital team's already registered, the courthouse team's already registered, so really positive event to promote healthy living in Lewis County and promote the sense of community. So great event happening in Lewis County. The solar project is complete. We are producing electricity and putting it on the grid. We need to schedule a little celebration and a ribbon cutting ceremony. So before you guys go, get with me or Frank Pace and let us know what your availability is over the next week, so we can get that scheduled. I had mentioned last month that we were putting together an employee survey. That went out today to all the employees, and we already have over 100 responses. So very strong response so far. The paper copies went out to the solid waste and highway departments, went to the department heads today, so we probably won't see those for a couple days, but all in all, I'm very excited. I think we asked good questions. The feedback so far has been that we asked some good questions, and hopefully we can get some feedback from our employees that can give us some direction on some of our personnel policies. We also created a survey for the Board of Legislators that went out today. So that's in your inbox. When you have some time, take a moment and sit down and go through that. I think it's only 15 questions, so it shouldn't take you too long. But the goal behind that is to try to put together a vision and mission for Lewis County that we can start leaning into and using to direct our organization. And it's also some questions about the structure of how we do things with the Board of Legislators and what works with your time availability. So as long as we're taking a poll, we might as well ask those questions to make sure we're getting the most out of our time that we're asking of the Board of Legislators. And just to build off what Greg had said, I was out at the SNRT run, kind of checking out. It was my first time having seen quite an operation like that. And I have to say I was very impressed with the event organizers. Everything was extremely well marked. And I was very impressed with our sheriff's department and their law enforcement partners. It was extraordinarily well patrolled, I thought. And our 2 new UTVs were on the job and doing a wonderful job. So another good event for Lewis County. And that's my report.
Where's the inter-county going to take place? Where do we meet?
Here at 9:30, right?
9:30.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have lunch at the Ridgefield that we're hosting.
Thank you, Ryan. Jerry? Patty? Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few balances. Special legislative contingency is $99,381.46. Contingency is $358,179.03. Capital data processing is $98,326.11. Capital equipment, highway portion, $158,431.24. County portion, $497,704.27. Sales tax, and this last month we did take a dip, so we are a little behind last year, but still on target to meet our budget. So we're at $2,257,264.15. Hospital repayment is on schedule. Our balance is $800,000. Internal Service Fund, I did receive the February report, and we did have a positive balance of $145,688.94. So our fund balance is at $2.5 million. And I just wanted to mention that I did file the state annual update document by May 1st, so we're set there. And the fund balance did drop slightly by $417,000 to $14,997,975, but that was to be expected because we did put the $1.2 million into the JCC project, and we did have some larger IGT payments in 2017. So that's where we ended up, and that's all I have. If there are any questions.
Any questions for Patty? If not, we'll move on to report of the Ways and Means Committee for Rule 7.
The Ways and Means Committee have a report that they extended the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,095,585.86, and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
You want to move that motion? Brian, second by John. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Do you want to close the public hearing?
Is there anyone that would like to make any more comments on the public hearing? If not, we'll at this point close the public hearing.
Okay, the first resolution is auditing and allowing the claims in the amount of $1,095,585.86.
Moved by Dick, second by Brian. Roll call.
Burns,
Yes.
Chartran,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Pauser,
Yes.
LaChaux,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Mowerhand,
Yes.
Mosher,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Dahlhoff.
Yes.
Resolution 154 is adopting and otherwise treating local law number 1, 2018.
Moved by Brian, second. Second by Jerry. Discussion? Nick?
Yeah, if I could, in a past life, I was the budget chairman for the village of Lavelle, or the fire department in Lavelle. And I didn't realize until Attorney Gibo spoke, but what he's saying is actually correct. There's 5 towns that we service, and the contract's through the village of Lavelle. And so our process and spreadsheet takes into account the land values in each one of the towns, and it normalizes it through the state, and then you can put in what that cost is, and it spreads it evenly across based on property values across the 5 towns. I didn't realize that this didn't do that, because I think that does, in fact, get it back where it ought to be and allow something to be charged for it. But I don't know, I was trying to go through all the departments in Lewis County, I don't know if every one is in a village, but I think, no, they're not, huh? Okay.
Oh, no, Martinsburg, Newbury, Martinsburg.
Turn and that, okay.
We can send it back to committee for further investigation.
I think the concept's good, but I think we may need to maybe tweak it a little bit, that's just my thought.
Joan, do you have any comments?
I
I think really Terry might have more specific data on that, but I would just, looking at the opinion of the controller on this, it specifically says that it's the town level where where a town is a participant in a county mutual self-insurance plan, its participation covers all of the volunteer firemen in the town, including those who are members of a village or other district. And that resolution, that opinion was reinforced by the controller with the County of Genesee. They did an audit. The controller did an audit of the County of Genesee in 2015 and told the County of Genesee that it ought to be going through the town, not the village. So they're reinforcing that legal opinion. I understand Attorney Gibo's concern that perhaps they're not looking at Section 30 of volunteer firefighters, but I think that language in volunteer firefighters law 30 is kind of open there as well. But again, from what I understand, Terry, we do the apportionment on behalf of the towns for any who have districts below them. Isn't that true?
What we're referring to always is referring to as a chargebacks for actual claims. It's not that the villages and towns are not assessed for volunteer firefighters. It is the chargeback for the actual claims that any fire department has, which goes back to the towns. And that's the interpretation. And after speaking with several of my counterparts, and that is the way all of the other counties, self-insureds, operate. So that is the change that I'm proposing. If there's still a question by the board, we take it back to committee. There's no harm, no foul to do that.
Jerry?
I guess I have one, and I think we worked this out, and I'm going to refer to Terry on this. I mean, what it is whoever pays it, it's them to reach out, whoever they're contracting with in the fire district to pick up that coverage.
Correct, like you know that the town of Lewis
Right.
contracts with the town of Ada.
Right, so, I mean, it's just something that can be taken care of, you just gotta take the steps to make it happen. So, it's not to put a burden on one group. So in other words, if you contract with, we'll pick out 5 towns plus the village, and if something happens, it would be the cost of paying that back would be spread out, maybe be a portion, like Ava and the town of Lewis, I'll use them for example.
Sure.
We cover districts in Ava, so when we got talking about it in town board, essentially Lewis County, town of Lewis was picking up the whole workman's comp. So we've worked out a deal where Ava, seeing that's half of our thing, picks up the other half, and it's whatever the cost is, it's spread out 50, 45, so it can be done by apportioning to these towns and getting it back to whoever ends up having to pay it.
Now, does Lewis have more than the town of Ava more than the town of Lewis and the town of Ava that you contract? Is that your district?
We had Lee Center too.
Do you still have Lee Center?
No, we let that go.
Yeah, so see, you're able to charge because it's only one person, but when they got 5 towns,
If you do it,
I don't think you would charge them.
If you do it in portion, I mean, what they pay in county tax, those towns. If you did that, that's an equal way of getting the money back from the other ones. Am I wrong in that reasoning or my understanding of it? So in other words, if your apportionment of county taxes is X amount of dollars for the town of Pinckney, Lewis, wherever, and you pay that share of workman's comp, it makes the one whole that's having to pick up the bill are responsible. Does that make sense that way, or am I missing it completely?
Well, I guess, okay, for your instance, in the village of Croghan's the same way.
Sure it is.
We contract with town of Croghan, town of Watson, town of Agreement. So if the village is the provider, within the contracts, because you have to go to the town boards to increase your contract money every year if you go back every year. So why is it so hard just to work that into your contract that you're getting enough funds to cover your workman's comp? That should be part of that should be in your contract, correct? Or not, Terry?
They all pay, it's all local tax dollars.
Yeah, but I mean, because you go back, if you want more money to buy a fire truck, you go back, you present a higher contract amount based on your budget. So if your budget for workman's comp is this amount of dollars, you spread it out within all your contracted agencies, with all your or all your towns you're contracting with. Why isn't it that? Am I missing something here that it couldn't be that simple? It's not that simple.
But this is clean.
This is claims for the fire department.
And my understanding was that
Charge back.
the purpose of this was there's a possibility of a double charge here in this.
Well, that's what the state controllers said, that it would be, if you send it to the village, creates double taxation because your village residents also pay town tax. That was the statement by the state controller, or the attorney general.
Can we let Mark speak? Yeah, I think he really went to make a comment.
If I'm allowed, I don't want to break protocol.
Go ahead.
Well, I think the fire truck is very different from the convoy, because the fire truck is something that the village purchases, the village authorizes, and the village is in control of the contract for village fire department. I think your situation in the town of Lewis, you're absolutely right. In the town of Lewis that works because there's no villages in the town of Lewis. But when you get to, let's just take Denmark and Copenhagen because we used them earlier, the contracts for fire protection, let's say with the town of Champion in Jefferson County by the village of Copenhagen, the town of Denmark is not a party to that contract. How does the town in that contract between the village and the town of Champion recover Champion's portion of the workers' comp? If the village is buying a fire truck, that's the village doing it. It's in the village budget. The village takes care of that. But the way this law would work, it would put the burden on the towns to rely on the generosity of the other communities to participate and reimburse them. But the towns have very little leverage to recover.
Well, I mean,
And I understand the double tax thing, but I think the double tax thing is easily resolved by where you put your fire protection in your budget, because towns with villages have a town-wide budget and they have a town outside budget. If fire protection is in their town outside budget, village residents aren't getting charged for it.
Right.
Well, except that I would also say, Mark, that it would be hard for the village to have a provision in its contract with the town of Champion to say that the town of Champion will have a proportionate share of any chargeback that comes back to the village, because they're providing that fire safety to the town of Champion. So I think it does come back to what you put in the contract.
But the chargeback isn't to the village. The chargeback's
The town is going to send it down, is going to apportion that down to the village, because there is an agreement between the village and the town.
And as long as the village will agree to that, that works.
Right.
But we're reliant on the good services of the village to agree to it. There's no way to compel it.
But except that the town has the legal ability to charge the village in that case, right?
I don't see how. It's a chargeback. It's not budgeted.
That could be spread over the whole town.
Right, but it's a service that isn't provided to the whole town.
certain circumstance because of the two villages in the one town. I understand that.
Different county.
I understand that. Terry, this all come about because of one claim, correct?
No, has nothing to do
Oh.
with a certain claim, no.
Okay, it doesn't, okay.
And that happened after the fact.
Okay.
I'm really not comfortable with this right now.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we refer it back to committee. I think the process is good. I know it's gotta be done, but I think if we could just spend maybe a little bit more time, we could answer some of the questions that are, because I'm not clear tonight myself.
Motion by Dick, send back to committee, second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I'm not against it, I just think a little more discussion. I didn't read that at all when I read this thing. I didn't catch that.
Okay, you got local law introductory number 2, providing for increases to salaries for certain local officials, and you're setting the public hearing for that local law for June 5th at 5 o'clock.
Moved by Gary, second by Dick. Discussion? In favor?
This is for the public hearing.
Yes.
This is for the
Public
Yeah.
hearing.
In favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Amending compensation of the county, establishing salaries of certain non-union exempt management and management confidential employees of Lewis County.
Moved by Greg, second by Ron. Discussion?
I think we should move all these resolutions that have to do with the salaries and stuff to executive session before the vote.
Do you want to have an executive session?
Not at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Well, you've now got this resolution is now on the table, so you want to look.
So,
Do you want to move to table it until later?
Move to
We can table it till after executive session,
After
right?
executive session.
Okay, so good.
Somebody want to make it here?
I make
Ryan makes that motion.
I'll second it.
Dick seconds. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion is tabled.
Number 157 has been withdrawn. 158, authorizing intermunicipal agreement between the county and the village of Croton for flood damage prevention, administration, and enforcement.
Moved by John, second by Gary. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Reappointing member of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Subcommittee of the CSB.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Discussion?
What number is this one? 15.
159.
Okay. Some reason I'm out of order.
I am too.
Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion on it? In favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Also authorizing the Director of Lewis County Community Services to enter an agreement with the State Department of Health for access to the Medicaid Analytics Provider Portal.
Moved by Tom, second by Greg. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Establishment of a Lewis County 401 retirement plan.
Moved by Dick, second by Ron. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
To appropriate funds, District Attorney Department.
Moved by Brian, second by John. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, District Attorney.
Moved by Jerry, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
To award bid to Luck Brothers for the replacement of the Blue Street Bridge.
Moved by Brian, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To award bid to Win Construction Services for the replacement of the Jordan Falls Road Bridge.
Moved by Dick, second by Randy. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan in reference to Lewis County General Hospital.
Moved by Dick, second by Andrea. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between the county and Laurel Volunteer Fire Department.
Moved by Dick, second by Jerry. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between Public Health and the New York State Department of Health for immunization action plan.
Moved by Brian, second by Andrea. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between the county, public health, and preschool special education providers.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between Jefferson Lewis Workforce Development Area, Pratt Northern Careers Program.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Discussion.
How do they apply for the jobs?
I'm not sure, Jackie isn't here. Do you have any insight on that, Jenny?
Mr. Chairman, I.
Yes, thank you. Or Ryan, you want to
Go ahead.
Well, Jenny probably has more of the details.
Pratt Northern passes a certain allotment of money through the Workforce Development Board, Jeff Lewis Workforce Development Board. The children apply usually starting in about January for careers here. They specifically look for locations that would enhance their education, kind of like a paid internship location. So we get an allotment of money to fund a certain number of slots. And the children do a lot of the legwork themselves to find their locations.
Now they apply to your office?
They apply, technically, yes. Yes.
Thank you. What age group is?
This is college students for
Stop.
career here,
Yep.
but there's also BOCES level slots as well. And then
This
there's
one
the
is,
regular.
this one's the college students.
They can be seniors.
They can be seniors
Seniors
going to college,
Oh, okay,
Like an
good.
upcoming freshman.
like an upcoming freshman over here is doing that. Then there's the regular summer, Pratt summer program as well for high school kids. So there are multiple programs within Pratt.
Thank you. Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between the county buying through the Sheriff's Department and 911 emergency operations with Solutions 2.
Moved by Brian, second by Ron. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds for 911.
Moved by Jerry, second by John. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To award bid to Frontier Communications of America for emergency 911 phone maintenance system.
Moved by Jerry, second by Brian. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing and ratifying contract between the county and local 825 of the Civil Service Employees Association's Sheriff's Employees Unit.
Moved by John, second by Andrea. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Create additional full-time court correction staff in the Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an agreement between the Sheriff's Department and New York State Office of Information Technology Services.
Moved. Moved by Brian, second by Dick. Discussion? Any in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing addition to agreement between the Sheriff's Department and One Path Career Partners.
Moved by Ron, second by Greg. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Adria. Discussion?
Now, part of this was gonna be insurance money we got back, that goes on top of what we're seeing here.
Correct.
No, that includes the 3 vehicles.
That's the total for the 3, and the insurance money's already been applied.
You'll have to ask Patty on
The
that.
insurance money was put back into the
Yeah,
capital equipment fund.
that was my question, thank you.
Further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Brian, second by Dick. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, social services.
Moved by John, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Workforce Investment Act.
Moved by John, seconded by Brian. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Late resolutions number 182, authorizing the agreement between the county and industrial development agency for marketing and public relations services.
Moved by Ron, second by Tom. Discussion? Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I got a couple of questions. I mean, why aren't we doing it in-house where we control it? It's not an agency of ours. I just, kind of like to keep it under our control, not someone else's.
Well, we can do that, but we would have to hire somebody and create another position, which would mean you have to pay them retirement and other benefits, so we thought this was cheaper.
We don't have some people around here who could do it, a little extra. I'm just asking.
Yeah. No, that's a good question, Jerry, fair question. My opinion about that is no, that I don't think we have the folks on staff of the county that are qualified in this area of expertise, and I think that we have Brittany at the IDA, who is highly qualified and does a very nice job for them, and it just seemed to fit nicely with what I was looking for with her skill set. So that's why we chose to go that direction.
Okay, but you're still going to control it?
Yes, absolutely. It'll be on an invoice basis, so we're not going to just send the IDA $20,000. As we ask for services, they'll perform the services and then send us an invoice, and we can draw down from that $20,000.
Yeah, but you're going to, I guess what I'm asking, are you set more advertising and how we're going about it?
Yes, they're not going to, any task that they complete will be at the direction of the county.
And who's gonna review that prior to it going out?
Prior to what going on there?
Any of the media releases
Oh.
or any of the public relations at all? Who's gonna be reviewing that?
I would say probably myself. If it's a large initiative, something that is, across many departments and, a brand building or, a larger initiative, I think we would run through the committees that, work with those departments.
Well, I still have an issue with this not being handled in-house by the county, by a county department itself. This is not a county department, not a county employee, it's not a county agency. I just can't I can't see it. Plus, I also still have more concerns with the cost that we're spending on the advertising with the Chamber of Commerce. You know, we've given them quite a bit of money, and we expect some advertising from them, and if we're not getting the necessary needs from them, then why are we giving them a large chunk of money like we are?
Well, to that, I would just make the distinction that the money that we give to the chamber is for tourism and business promotion. The funding that I'm talking about here is for internal county public relations, building the county brand, presenting a face to the public that is professional and unified.
Well, on that basis, I also still think that this should be a county-run operation, not an outside agency. I don't believe that, you know, you're looking at cost savings, but is it really a cost savings to us? You know, I mean, in the long run, would we be better off doing it in-house so we have the control that we want to have over it?
Adam, I've got a question. When I was on your committee the last couple of years, the last gentleman you hired, I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong here, but I thought we hired him with the intentions that he was good with social media and stuff, and that he was going to handle that part of it for us for our department heads. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think from a technical perspective, yes, but this is different in my eyes. It's more of a marketing type approach, where we could put the content on the site, we can put the content out to these things, but this is kind of a different thing. Like, we can't develop the material to post. That wouldn't be his skill set.
Well, the developing marketing of it is going to be from our own department heads. They're the ones that are going to relay the information. So it's the same concept. Is our department heads would give the information to your person, and then he would do with it what needs to be done. Do you see my point? And then we are keeping it in-house, and it's in our yard, not in somebody else's.
Yeah, I understand, Greg. One distinction that I would make there is that that you're right. Most of the facts and the materials are absolutely going to come from departments. I think what we're talking about is the presentation of those materials. If you look at even our budget compared to what other, more modern counties and cities across New York State are doing, it's more engaging for the public to read. It's easier for the public to access. I think there's an expectation nowadays that professional organizations, meet the public where they are and make an effort to engage with their materials, especially if they're, taxpayer funded. So that's kind of where my vision is. The direction that we take to get there, and I'm open for suggestions, but this is what, this particular solution is what we came up with.
I guess the one flaw I see with this solution, Ryan, is that how are you gonna be able to hold the departments accountable for feeding the IDA this information? How are you gonna be able to track it? Because Brittany's not gonna go after and call you up and say, listen, this department's not giving me the information I need. How are you gonna be able to track that the departments are actually giving her the information you want? Because you're almost like a third person in this. So,
well, I would expect that the contract would be executed through my office. So anything that we choose to run through the IDA's services would be run through me. So it's not gonna be a free for all that any department that needs some marketing can run over to the IDA. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to target it for things that are going to be on, mass release to the public that we want to put a good face on, and we want to build our brand as a county.
Ryan, I guess I read this too quick when I first read it, but where it says that we're going to create a contract with the IDA, and then we put the individual's name in there.
Well,
I'm not sure that, yeah, I agree with the position, or I agree with it, but is this contract with the IDA, or is it with the IDA and Brittany? Because her name is right there.
It's with the IDA, but the expectation is that she's their marketing
But if she leaves, and
professional.
people do leave, then is the IDA held to rehire somebody that's got those same capabilities and stuff?
No, I wouldn't say that.
You
Since
just
we're,
been spending money on
that's what I would say, yes.
it. I'm just uncomfortable with the name in there. I think if we're gonna do it with the IDA, it's the IDA.
I'm so uncomfortable with it going out of county hands.
I think it's good to go out of county, gives a different perspective. Get outside eyes looking in, sometimes it's a good thing.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so,
And the reason for it is there's not a lot of definitions. If you put a package together, then I probably would support it. But throwing it haphazard and then rushing with it, I can't.
okay, I need to show of hands that don't support this. Jerry, Brian, and Greg. Motion carries.
Resolution to transfer funds, economic development.
Moved by Ron, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So Jerry, Brian, and Greg opposed. Motion carried.
Opposing Assembly Bill 10-428 to propose elimination of marksmanship and/or shooting programs in public schools.
Moved by Dick, second by Brian. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing renewal agreement between county and the Black Broadcasting Group for the advertising of the public transportation system.
Moved by Brian, second by Randy. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing county to retain ownership of delinquent tax foreclosure parcel adjacent to county-owned property.
Moved by Randy, second by Jerry. Dick?
If we decide at a later time, this doesn't fit what's all spelled out in here, can it then go back on the tax rolls, or no?
If we don't.
It can be sold at auction.
It can be sold at auction. Okay, good.
Well, provided we don't own it to the county property.
Pardon?
It sets off by itself. If we put it in the county property, where it's
Well, as
permanent.
long as you don't mark it as reforested.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as you
Absolutely.
identify that document. Okay.
We leave it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Thank you. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing and ratifying contract between the county and local 825 general employees unit.
Moved by Brian.
No,
What
number is this one? I would like to table this to after our executive session.
Okay,
187.
I'll second.
Any other business before we go into executive session?
You want me to do the proclamations?
Okay, yes, please.
There were proclamation to declare May as Mental Health Month in Lewis County, and the chairman will be reading that in its entirety at the beginning of the May 17 walk that starts at the fire hall. And we have a proclamation for Foster Parent Recognition Month. Whereas the family, serving as the primary source of love, identity, self-esteem, and support, is the very foundation of our communities and our nation. And in Lewis County, in the state of New York, there are children and youth in foster care being provided with a safe, secure, and stable home, along with compassion and nurturing of a foster family. All young people in foster care need a meaningful connection to a caring adult who becomes a supportive and lasting presence in their lives. foster, kinship, and adoptive families who open their homes and hearts and support children whose families are in crisis play a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect, thereby launching young people into successful adulthood. Dedicated foster families frequently adopt foster children, resulting in a greater need for more foster families. And there are numerous individuals, public and private organizations who work to increase public awareness of the needs of children in and living in foster care, as well as the enduring and valuable contribution of foster parents. And the foster care system is only as good as those who choose to be part of it. I therefore, Lawrence Dahlhoff, as Chairman of the Board of Legislators, proclaim May as Foster Care Recognition Month in Lewis County and urge all citizens to come forward and do something positive that will help change a lifetime for children and youth in foster care. I further recognize and thank Lewis County foster parents for their commitment and dedication to our foster children.
Thank you, Terry. Motion for executive session. Brian?
Motion by Randy to go
Mr.
in
Chairman,
for.
yes, we're going to go into executive session to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to the civil service law, and also to review the employment history and compensation for particular persons.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Should give me a chance to finish.
Okay, motion by